Welcome back, YouTubers. I am Jason Wiersema. This is Tankers Fantasy Football, and we are going to get into some starts and sits for Week 8 for you guys to help you go over in your fantasy matchups. But before we get started, you know how we do at Tankers Fantasy Football. Maybe you throw us a subscription, maybe you don't. Maybe you toss us a like, maybe you don't. Maybe you go fuck yourself. All right, we're going to get right into some running backs. We're going to lead off with the start of the week in James Conner. He's got the Dolphins, giving up the second most yards, 183 scrimmage yards of running backs a game, and the third most touchdowns. And I know you're starting James Conner if he's active, regardless, but I just wanted to let you know how sexy the matchup really was. All right, we got another start of the week. We got Todd Gurley out there playing against the Bengals in London, giving up the most yards, 186 scrimmage yards to running backs, and the second most touchdowns to running backs thus far this season. We got some Sony Michel. I know I'm kind of shitting all over Sony. Doesn't really look that good. His offensive line's banged up. Rob Gronkowski, Dwayne Allen are no longer there. They were great blocking tight ends. His fullback is also gone. But he does have the Browns this week, are giving up the third most points to opposing running backs. So, I think this is, keep him in there. Our back-end RB2 flex play for you out there. Sony Michel. Got some LaShawn McCoy playing against the Packers, giving up the most points to opposing running backs. And, but I don't know. This is, most points to opposing running backs. You think, but I'm still sitting Damian Williams. Looking like a bum out there. Not really getting any touches. Well, Sean McCoy appears to be the bell cow in this offense as far as running back touches go. So all in on McCoy versus the Packers. Got some Ty Johnson. Just took over the starting role for Kerryon Johnson. They pulled up Paul Perkins from the practice squad, so that tells me they're not looking to bring in C.J. Anderson, at least not yet. So, he's playing the Giants, giving up the fifth most yards, giving up 167 scrimmage yards, two running backs a game. So, Ty Johnson, solid flex play for you this week. Got some Tevin Coleman. We got Matt Breida's a little banged up out there, and he's playing against the Panthers. We're giving up the fifth most touchdowns, and Coleman does appear to be the 49er goal line back. So, all in on some Tevin Coleman. We got some sits. I don't know, he probably can't really sit Nick Chubb, but he's headed down to Desolation Row, playing the Patriots, who are giving up the second fewest yards, giving up the fewest amount of touchdowns. They've only given up 3 offensive touchdowns on the season. I'm not talking about rushing touchdowns. I'm talking about 3 total offensive touchdowns. So I know you got to probably play Chubb, but he might be more of a back-end RB2, RB3 play this week instead of an RB1. I got some Chase Edmonds. David Johnson's probably looking to sit out there. But I wouldn't get too excited about Chase Edmonds this week. The Saints are giving up the 4th fewest yards and the 3rd fewest touchdowns to running backs. So I'd probably more of a flex play than a back-end RB1/RB2 like he would have been in a plus matchup. Got some Derrick Henry. You might actually consider benching Derrick Henry this week. The Buccaneers are run defense, that's tough as nails. They're giving up the fewest amount of yards to running backs thus far this season. Derrick Henry's not really involved in the passing game, so I would try to look to find another solution than Derrick Henry this week. Got some Frank Gore, Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary went out there, let us all down last week, let me down. I know it was his first week coming back from injury. Teams refuse to let Frank Gore just ride off into the sunset. He's still getting the bulk of these carries, but I'm looking to sit them both this week because the Eagles are giving up the 6th fewest yards and the 4th fewest touchdowns to opposing running backs. Right, any Washington running back, I know AP's out there with a high ankle sprain. He says he's still playing because he's a man, but I don't know. Minnesota's giving him 7th fewest yards and the 4th fewest touchdowns, so even if he does play or who plays in his stead, I am not looking to start any of them. I'm going to go ahead and bench Joe Mixon because, Jesus, Joe, you're a bomb, babe. 7.5 PPR points with a receiving touchdown. Absolutely gross. Going into London. Joe Mixon reportedly was out there when the Bengals are doing that garbage time drive down the field for that late score. I guess he was on the sideline taking off his pads, and as soon as the clock hit zeros. He headed his ass into the shower. I heard him. Whisper said if there was a shower on the sideline, he would have been in that sumbitch. All right, we got some David Montgomery. He's got a plus matchup versus the Chargers, giving the 4th most points, but I'm still not buying in. You know, the Bears are a dumpster fire. They had like 7 carries last week, which is the fewest in 100 years of franchise history. So, I mean, I know they might try to overcorrect it this week, but I'm still not buying in, and I'm still sitting David Montgomery. All right, moving into some wide receivers. Wide receiver start of the week is Tyler Lockett playing against the Falcons, who are giving up the 3rd most points to opposing wide receivers. And if you're in giving up the 3rd most yards to opposing wide receivers at 196 yards to wide receivers a game, and the 5th most points. And if you're in a little bit of desperation play, you need kind of a boomer bust flex play option, DK Metcalf might be an all-right play as well. Got some Cortland Sutton. He's averaged 16.7 PPR points in his last 5 games. Emmanuel Sanders is now out of town, and he's playing the Colts, who are 24th in points allowed to wide receivers. So all in on the Cortland Sutton this week. Some Kenny Galladay, some Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones coming out there. He blew his load all over the field last week with the 4 touchdowns. But if you still need a flex play, I think he's good to go because he's got the Giants give up the 6th most yards, give up 189 yards to wide receivers a game are the Giants. Got some downtown John Brown back on the start list last week. Went out there and got it done for you. He was on the start list last week. Put him back on it this week because he's got the Eagles, who are giving up the 2nd most yards at 198 yards and the most touchdowns to opposing wide receivers. So gear up. In Buffalo, some downtown John Brown. Had some Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, if he doesn't get it sexy for you in this game, it might be golden shovel time for our boy Juju Smith-Schuster. We're going to avoid the golden shovel for now out there, Juju. Playing the Dolphins, getting up the 3rd most touchdowns and the 6th most points. So we're going to avoid the golden shovel for now. But if you fail me this week against the Dolphins, we're bringing it out for you, baby. All right, we got some Corey Davis, kind of some desperation plays right here. We got some Corey Davis and A.J. Brown. The Buccaneers are getting up the most yards, 204 yards to wide receivers all game, and the 2nd most fantasy points. Ryan Tannehill does look like he's breathed a little bit of life back into this Titan passing attack. He went out there and hucked it, chucked it, football for 300 yards last week. A.J. Brown does look like a grown-ass man. He's the type of guy, he's a big, strong man like Terrell Owens, or the type of guy who can take a 10-yard reception, break a tackle or two, and take that shit straight to the house. So if you are in need of a desperate flex play, I think I might run out on A.J. Brown this week over Joe Mixon in the flex. I'm feeling it. Fuck you, Joe. I'm putting in A.J. Brown. How you feel about that? All right, we got Kenny Stills, another kind of reach play. Will Fuller is out for this week and probably for the foreseeable future. Kenny Stills has got the Raiders, giving them the 3rd most touchdowns and the 3rd most points to opposing wide receivers. So if you are in need of a waiver wire flex play situation, look no further than your boy Kenny Stills out there. All right, we got some sits. Keenan Allen, he went out there, you know, he looked sexy deluxe in week 3, scored 43.6 points for you in week 3, but he has 31 combined PPR points in his last 4 games, and he plays the Bears, who are getting up the 4th fewest touchdowns and the 6th fewest points to wide receivers. So I don't know if you got any. I mean, I know you probably can't sit Keenan Allen, but I just think this might be another situation where he's going to let you down for the 5th straight week. Got T.Y. Hilton, might get the Chris Harris treatment out there. The Broncos secondary, pretty tough. Giving up the 3rd fewest yards and the 5th fewest touchdowns to wide receivers. So, I mean, temper your expectations on T.Y. Hilton. If he's getting the Chris Harris treatment out there, it could be a long day. All right, we got some solid sits right here, and DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel playing the Niners, who are giving up the least amount of yardage to opposing wide receivers. So if you got any other warm bodies on your bench, I would look to explore those options and put them down in the comment section. I'll tell you if the body's warm enough to start over DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel. I think OBJ, I think he's also a solid set. I mean, he's probably going to, Stephon Gilmore, going to be following him around. That Patriots secondary is tough as nails. Talking about desolation row again. Giving him the 2nd fewest yards and the least amount of touchdowns and the least amount of fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Could be a whole nother situation where the opposing quarterback seeing ghosts out there versus the Patriots this week. Got another sitting Alshon Jeffrey going to Buffalo, playing the Bills. Bills are giving up the second fewest touchdowns and the second fewest points to opposing wide receivers, and Alshon Jeffrey's kind of that guy that lives off of his touchdowns. So if you got any other options, I would go look and explore them as well. We got some starts at tight end. These guys are both kind of on the bubble because they both might not suit up, but if they do, they got some tasty matchups. Got Jared Cook against the Cardinals, giving the most touchdowns, most yards, and most points to opposing tight ends, and we got Delaney Walker playing the Bucs. We're getting up the second most yards and points to tight ends. So if those guys sit up or suit up, feel free to put them in your lineup. We got some sits at tight end. Got Greg Olsen at the Niners, giving up the least amount of yards and fantasy points to opposing tight ends. And Hawkinson playing the Giants, who are surprisingly stiff against tight ends, giving up the fourth fewest yards and points. All right, we got a couple quarterbacks to talk about. Got Josh Allen playing the Eagles, who are giving up the fifth most yards and the sixth most touchdowns. And Teddy Bongwater out there playing against the Cardinals, who are giving up the sixth most yards and the fourth most touchdowns to opposing quarterbacks. So all in. If you need, maybe your starter's on bye, you're going to need yourself some Josh Allen or some Teddy Bongwater. I think Carson Wentz is going to go out there and let you down again. Going to the Bills, giving up the fourth fewest yards and the second fewest touchdowns to opposing quarterbacks. So I think Carson Wentz might have another letdown game for you up in Buffalo. All right, you like the cut of my jib? Give us a like. Give us a subscribe, give us a share, tell all your league mates about us. I mean, I know you're trying to keep the tank as a secret so you got a little edge against your league mates, but I'm telling you, we're trying to get sexy over here, boys. We're trying to build the channel. We're trying to make your leagues more competitive. More competitive leagues are more enjoyable in my eyes. So go ahead out there and give us a little share. Tell your league mates about us. Put all your questions, put all your start-sit questions, all your trade questions down in the comment section below. I will get back to you. I always do. All right, holla at me.
I'm hot as fuck, bitch.